What was your childhood like growing up around addiction?
Well, my dad was an alcoholic, my mom was an alcoholic and addict. Um, I started drinking at a really young age, probably like 12 years old. I used to be that little girl that would go to parties with my 16-year-old
Mm.
brother and, think nothing of it. And
Mhm.
then when I was 15, I turned to weed. Um, that became a problem right away because if I didn't have it, I was a
Mm.
terrible person. I was mean and
Right.
anxious and just centered my whole life around it.
Mm.
Then when I
Yeah.
was 18, that's when everything else came, and definitely lost everything right away.
Yeah. Sounds like it's been rough from the beginning. When you look back, what do you think you needed most as a child that you didn't receive?
Probably just a sober family. Um,
Yeah.
my dad was a hard worker, my dad was working all the time, but if he wasn't working, he was drunk, and
Mhm.
my mom, she was always drinking, but she didn't start her addiction to pain pills until my grandma died. Her mom was living with us and she passed away. And when my mom was packing her stuff up, she found pain pills. And that's when that started.
Gosh, yeah. That'd be a very open and vulnerable time, for her to find something like that and say, "Oh, here's an answer." So, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Were there any moments or people growing up that made you feel safe even briefly?
When I was younger, like I always felt safe around my parents,
Yeah.
but I just knew that they had like their issues to deal with. But
Right.
my grandparents, on my mom's side, I felt safe around them, and then there was stuff that came out when I was 18 that made me question everything. Like, "Oh, did they
Mm.
really love me? Did they really care?
Yeah.
Or was it just like a hoax to see?"
Yeah. Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, that is hard. You have, like you said, I experienced that as well. I have family members, immediate family members that are alcoholics too, and they still worked, provided and stuff like that. But then, that alcohol turns them into a different person and makes them hard to be around. And it's not that we hate our parents or that person, it's just we hate who they are when they are in that state. So I completely understand
Right.
that. You kind of already answered this. You said you started drinking when you were 12 and then led to weed. What were some of the harder drugs? Did you go into pills as well?
I would, just do pills once in a while, but I started seeing this guy when I was 18. He was one of my brother's friends, and
Mm.
a little while into our relationship, I found out that he was struggling with meth abuse, and I was trying to help him get sober off of it. Well, then he asked me one day if I wanted to do meth for a weekend. So I did. Um,
Mhm.
I was coming down and he cheated on me, so I punched my mirror. After I punched my mirror, I kept getting pain pills from the doctor. And then I ran out of the pain pills. So I was crying to him about being in pain. I don't know if it was so
Mhm.
much pain at that time or just like withdrawing from the pain pills. I think it
Right.
was probably withdrawing from pain pills at this time. So I
Mhm.
was telling him about it and he was like, "Well, I got heroin. Let's if you want to do it." And that's how that started.
Yeah, and one thing leads to another, and like you said, a lot of it is like trying for the pain, but it's really you just want that high or not from the withdrawals, leads you on to the next thing, or the one thing doesn't become accessible anymore. So that leads you to, even worse things. That exactly, I know a lot of people personally, my husband and I have both lost a lot of friends to addiction. And yeah, that's how it goes a lot of times. What do you think people understood more about addiction and relapse?
Think a lot of people that have never used substances really understand addiction as much. I think
Mhm.
what they think that people just wanna get high, which, yeah, that is the case sometimes, but sometimes people wanna numb the pain. Sometimes there's so much trauma and history that they just wanna numb it all out. It's not always just to get high, it's to not feel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I a lot of these episodes that I'm doing, and even with Karen, we spoke on that. Everybody has a story. Everybody has something that led them to the situation that they're in, whether it's drugs, alcohol, being incarcerated, anything like that. So I always try to keep an open mind and actually listen to people and see what they've actually been through.